Hello everyone, I'm Hawk. Today I will introduce you some topic about TypeScript in ZK. As we know, ZK10 is now under development. So if you want to try, you can see there's a freshly released. You can download to try. It's just several days ago. And first, I want to tell you that we have some major change in ZK10 client side. First is we migrate all our JavaScript code, our widgets to TypeScript. So if you check our source code in GitHub, you can see under the, this is GitHub, and if under ZK10 experiment, you can see there are lots of JavaScript now. You don't see, you just see TypeScript. All the JavaScript that are migrated to TS file. So in previous version in ZK9, maybe you will see some of them migrate to TypeScript, but now in ZK10, all the JavaScript file are migrated to TypeScript. So this is a major big change. So for this, in order to allot most of the developers to use ZK types, we actually also publish ZK types npm project, npm packages, sorry. So you can see in the npm management that there is a package you can specify to download to use it. Then it contains all our widgets declarations for ZK framework. So it also contains all the API. So it contains lots of .t.js file for widgets and all the ZK TypeScript API. So you can, when you write your code in TypeScript, you can specify this ZK types to help you to get some suggestions and API list. So why TypeScript? I think ZK have the reason that ZK migrate to TypeScript has no difference from everyone else. We just, since we have lots of hundreds of widgets and codes, so I think strong type can help us reduce some errors and improve the readabilities. And so that's very important for a big framework. And also we want to get more IDE support like yours, like Java. So if we use TypeScript, we can have reliable, complete, autocomplete, and we can easily navigation a class or a methods by just clicking, use some hotkey instead of just navigate the whole code by just some methods in the whole WPD files. It's actually a troublesome task. And we sometimes also can eliminate some typos when we calling a methods or maybe passing a wrong type of wrong parameters into a methods. So that's also another benefit. And there are other benefits like maybe we want to work with others module system with other libraries. Also, we can produce the more accurate documents, JavaScript documents. That's also a benefit. Oh. Can you hear me? Because, okay. Because someone say there's no audio, so I suppose maybe I accidentally mute myself. Okay, someone say can hear me, so I think it's normal. If there's some problems, please also, okay, thank you everyone. So I think it's normal. So if someone cannot hear me, then maybe check your speaker or your settings. Okay, then let's continue. So that's the benefits that we want for TypeScript. And surely we also keep the backward compatible. So don't worry if you can still use JavaScript. So you can still customize ZK widgets with JavaScript. And your existing JavaScript custom widget code still works in ZK10. So don't worry if you are not familiar with TypeScript, or if you don't like TypeScript, then you still can use JavaScript. That's also fine. And so now I can give you a very quick introduction, very short, to tell you how to set up TypeScript development in ZK. But I won't go too much because, yeah, there are lots of documents to introduce how to set up this development environments. So I just mentioned those specific part for ZK. And yeah, this is not the whole introduction for TypeScript. So if you check our README in the GitHub, here, if you go to the ZK books repository and switch to the TS override branch and check in the client reference project, there's the reference project. I demonstrate you about how to customize a client-side widgets. Then here we have a README to tell you how to set up. So the first, I think the steps are quite simple. The first is just like everyone else, when you want to use TypeScript, you need to install TypeScript and also the ZK types and jQuery, because ZK has a depend on jQuery. So yeah, you can just install. Yeah, on my local environment, I already installed, so I don't show the steps to install it. Yeah, I think you can do it by yourself. And the second one is to set up the tsconfig JSON. And I show you my environment. I will demonstrate with VS Code because it's the IDE that support TypeScript by default. You don't need to pay anything. It's just free software. So this is the tsconfig. It's a minimal. You need to specify, like for example, types, specify ZK types and streak, and don't check the library and can specify a library. You need to use, for example, the DOM. Usually you will use DOM API, and the target is ES5 because yeah, ZK original specify the target is ES5, so you need to use ES5. So there are also lots of options you can add, but yeah, I think this is minimal. You can use for ZK specific, and others option you can add depending on your preference. Okay, so this is after this, I think it's almost ready. Yeah, just very simple. Just install that, set up the tsconfig. Then now you can start to write your TypeScript file, and you can run this. Surely you need to install the Node.js. I think it's basically requirements. So you can compile this file, all the file with npx tsc, then you will compile all your file. But maybe your file becomes more and more, you don't want to compile all the file every time, then you can specify this include to compile single file. For example, maybe you just change one file called patch, then you can comment it, include. So it will just compile this file or maybe other file, something like this. So it will save you some compiling times instead of compiling all files. Okay, so this is the environment you can set up to start. Then I can introduce you some several hotkeys I think it's useful in VS Code. Maybe you would also know. For example, in the VS Code, we can here we can show the function document by hovering on the mouse on the methods function, or we can just use command. If I use Mac, command K, command I. Maybe Windows could be Control K, Control I. So it will show the document of this function. Then you can scroll to see the the comments, the documents, and the parameters to see how to use it. I think this is it doesn't have these kind of things in when you write JavaScript. So it helps you how to use ZK API. You can know, okay, what it's this function used for. And you also can trigger the suggest. I think just like every when you program in Java, when you press the dot, it will show some suggest function suggest here, so you can use it. And if you already press the dot, you can also use Command I to trigger the dot again. Then you can maybe change to another method. Okay, so when you use this dot, you can press the tab to do the word complete. And another useful hotkey is you can jump to the definition by pressing F12. So you can see here, yeah, there's the definition of the afterload, and so you can get more information here, or you can browse other definition here. So it's very useful. You don't need to, in previous way, you need to check in the browser, and usually you need to open the develop tool and check the PDF file, WPD file, and this is it's a merge file. So usually you need to scroll a long file to look for some functions you want to know. So this is usually a very troublesome things because there are thousands of code. So in TypeScript now you don't need to do this. Just press the F12 then, or just call the hotkey, then you can see the documents. Okay, so this is the main difference. And if you want to use the TypeScript file in IntelliJ, you need to purchase it's only support in paid version, so you need to use IntelliJ Ultra editions. Yeah, the community edition doesn't support TypeScript by default. So yeah, this can you can check their documents. Okay, and I also suggest you to create your own code template, because for some users, if you you usually have a requirement to override a widget. Actually, this code template is a boilerplate code, so you can just create it as a template like this. I already created one. It's called ZK widget. So I can type ZK widget and press the enter, and it will give me a template. So I can it will generate a template. So I can just type here and press the tab and type here to write down something to save some typed efforts, so I don't need to remember this kind of boilerplate code by myself. I don't need to find a code and copy paste. I just can type with some keywords, and it will generate for me. So I think it's very useful. And it also IntelliJ also have this kind of feature like called live template. But if you want to use in VS Code, there is a setting. Just go View, Command Palette, and go to the Configure User Snippet, and you need to create a JSON. Then you can create a name. I already create a TypeScript JSON. Just look for its documentation. Look for VS Code documentation. You can know how these JSON files format. So you can create JSON like this, ZK widget override, and you create a prefix. The prefix is just is the keyword you need to type to invoke this template. And the body is the code template. You need to put your code template here. And the placeholder, you need to use like a $1, $2 as the placeholder. So when you generate this template, then your cursor will be here, and when you press the tab, your cursor will jump to here, the second place. So it's very convenient. You don't need to remember all these details. You can just create a template for this. I think you can speed up, save you time efforts to create a patch if you have these kind of requirements often. Okay, so let me show you some very basic two examples about to override widget. Okay. So I think the process to override a widget is quite simple. The first step is just locate the function that to override, and then to override it with your custom logic and TypeScript, and then applied it in different scope. So for the first step, we just check this patch .js. This is a very simple case that just override panels on close. So the first step usually, you need to create some kind of after load and this augments. And so if you already create a template, you can just generate a template like this, and you don't need to type by yourself. And here we use the augment is the new API. And usually, I think some of you might familiar the old API is ZK override. Sorry. So this is the old API. It still works. So don't worry, you still can use ZK override. And this still works. But the override and why we suggest using augments is a little bit different. The overrides that it pass, if you want to override widget, you usually need to pass a X widget here. So the X widget will contain the backup function. That means if you override on close, then it will assign the original function. Original on close means the function before overridden in this X widgets. So you need to call, if you want to call the original function, you need to write the call like this. That's the original one. But in TypeScript, you can see because it's the OAPI doesn't limit, it just allow you to send an object. So this object has no implicit type. So when you type dot here, it cannot give you any hint about what one method or what function do you override. So in TypeScript, it will show something like this kind of errors, say unclose does not exist because this is just an arbitrary object. So it doesn't cannot get any help from TypeScript, from IDE. So this is the old way. It still works, but just you cannot get help from IDE. So that's why we create another API called augments, and it accepts two parameters, and it returned the old widget as an object here. And the augments accept two parameters. The first is the same, just the widget like you use in override. This over here. You can see it's very similar. The first parameter is the same, just the targets which you want to override. For example, in this case, it's panel, so the same. But second one this is X widget, means the widget that contains the old functions, but this is not. There's no second. The second parameter is the map. You contains the function you want to override. So this second argument equals to the third argument in all API. Yeah, you can see on close. Okay, so this is an object here. So, for what is the old functions is stored in these old panels, and the difference is when you use old panel and it contains type. Yes, very explicit type. So when you use the alt panel, it will show unclose to you. So you can call unclose because you know that you already override this unclose. So this is the main difference. Then you use TypeScript, you use augments, then it can help you. It will store those original function in this returned object. So you can use this return object to call and so give you some hint. And the rest is almost the same. So you can use the list and it will give you some hint about this widget, the function of this widget. So yeah, even if you add a new method here, yeah, so you can see we can still call this. For example, when I press you can call this add-in method, you also give you some hint. So this is useful in TypeScript. It gives you some more hints and to avoid you have some typos and give you some hints to know which function you override. So we would suggest you use augment, but surely you still can keep using override if you feel more comfortable with this file, this API. It still works. Yeah, but this will give you more help. So this patch just override the unclose. So this is just a very simple override, and its final result is just like this. We have a patch rule, and this patch rule contain a panels. So we override its unclose function. So when I close this panel, and you will call this. Okay, so it will show a message here. So this is a very basic override just to demonstrate the idea and the API, how to use. So yeah, surely you can add any custom logic inside here. Okay, so this is the first very simple example. And the second example is a little bit different. For example, if you want to override something, some functions that contains the overrides in the accessibility modules, you usually sometimes you need a different way. For example, in ZK, the polo layout, there is a feature when you click the title and press the spacebar, there is a small navigation pop-up here. If you can click it to move the polo to a different column, that's one of the features. It's added by accessibility module. Okay, so it's some kind of keyboard control. So you don't need to move by drag and drop. This is an alternative to mouse move. So this is a navigation. But sometimes we have a requirement. Someone don't want this little navigation pop-up. You want to disable it. So we need to override these functions in JavaScript. But this function, he actually is added in the accessibility modules. So it's a bit complicated. If you just override by do key downs with portal layouts, and if you call, usually when we override it, we will call the previous functions, call the function before overridden like this. If you override a function that exists in the accessibility module, which is this one, the A11Y, then this way will have some problems. Let me show you why. Because okay, let me show you the architecture. Okay. Yeah, because the dpolo layouts is a widget in ZK Max. And the accessibility module actually is overrides the do key downs in ZK Max and as the navigation pop-up. That's the accessibility. So if you use override, use override or augment, to override the methods in do key downs in ZK-Max. But if you override functions of the ZK portal layouts, then actually you will override based on this methods, this function do key down in ZA11. So if you call X switches do key down applied, actually you will call the function in accessibility. So this function will also add the pop-up, navigation pop-up, and then it will also call the previous function in ZK-Max. So if you call this API, then you cannot close or you cannot disable navigation pop-up because the navigation pop-up is inside this method. So you need a way to directly call the function in ZK-Max to skip the function in ZA11. So there's a function we call the supers. You can directly call supers, means to directly call the poll layouts do key downs in ZK-Max. So that's the way. So this is the how we implement this. And so this patch is purpose to avoid opening a pop-up when pressing a spacebar. So this comment also explained because this feature is provided by the accessibility, so you cannot just directly call this because it's just call the function before overridden. So you need to call this supers. I want to call my parents' functions, but I directly specify which widgets. That widget is the polar layout widgets and do key downs. So you will directly call polar layouts do key downs with this API, and so you will skip the accessibility modules, the function is the accessibility modules. So that's a little bit difference you can see here. So if there's something clear, you can see the JS document, the comments here. So it's very, I think it's very convenient. Just press F12 to jump to the declarations. So if you want to know which function you can override, just also like press F12, then you will jump to the definition declaration of this widget poll layouts, and you can see there are several functions here. Then, or you can check there's an outline. There's an outline view here, so you can check poll layout. There's an outline of these functions, so you can quickly look for the function you want to override. So instead of looking for thousands of code in a WPD file, this is more efficient, I think. But maybe you can see there are functions. The functions look so few because we now export those public functions in Polar in every widget. But in the next phase, I think we will expose all of the function, even it's private or protected. You can see it here, but currently it's not. Currently, we only expose those public functions. But in the future, we will expose all functions because we think it's more convenient to export every function for override. So because the client side is usually we have various kinds of requirements, so it's better to open every JavaScript function for you to override. Then yeah, in the next phase we will do this. So for now, if you download ZK type, you can see only the public method here. Okay, so this is the second example. You can see. Okay, so this is the my today's introduction. As a short introduction to give you some quick start to start overwriting JavaScript. So if you want to get this setting, for example, the tsconfig you don't want to configure by yourself, you can just navigate to the GitHub ZK Books repository, and there's a TS override branch, and go to the client reference projects. There are several projects here. Just go to the client reference, and inside this client reference project, there's a under web app, there's a tsconfig.json here. You can just copy this to your project and can start and follow the README in the client reference to set up the environment. Okay, so yeah, this is just my short introduction for TypeScript here today. So is there any other questions? Oh, thanks, Robert. Yeah, it's currently there's no source map created. Yeah, we are working on it. And to minify the test code, oh, yeah, there's currently no public. We don't provide anything for minimize. But I think you can find other tools to minify your TS file or JS file. But currently we don't have it. At least no public. Yeah, currently no source map. Yeah, but we are working on it. Okay, thank you, everyone. If you have any question, you can speak out or just type text type your question in the chat. I will answer. Okay. If there's no other question, yeah, just keep focusing our news, then we will have the next training. So thank you, everyone. If you still have questions, welcome to send email to us. So thanks for joining today's training. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye. See you next time.